So going to talk about the community of developers of free software, and then of an organization that advocates for responsible use of data and software. No? We're going to start with Paul. Paul, tell us, what is KDE.org and how we really passed from proprietary tools to free tools, or haven't they always been there?
Okay, first I would like to correct the presenters. You said gratuito, not gratuito, not necessarily free as in freedom, not free as in beer. Okay. Yes. So free software encompasses open source. So you have the openness of the source, and you also have the social freedom to use it in many different ways. Now, KDE basically, I think there's a video coming up. There's no noise, there's no sound, but
almost there.
Yeah. KDE is actually a community of people, volunteers, who create free software for the masses. That is the simplest explanation. So you have video editors, you have educational software, you have design software, we have a desktop, which means that you can use Linux as if you were using Mac OS or Windows, etc., etc., etc. It is a very porous community where everybody can come in and collaborate and start creating their own project, and we have the infrastructures to help people do that. Obviously, it's incredibly democratic because everything is free, everything is distributed worldwide, and we have people all over the world. It's a really large community where everybody can participate. That is what is KDE. Now, and the relation with this actual conference is that the main reason we have a vision, which is to give all the people, everybody, control over digital lives, return control over their digital lives. There was a time when people had control over their lives and their digital lives, and that went away, and we try and bring that back.
Okay. How do you keep the community engaged?
Well, the communities normally engages themselves. Okay, I work in communication and promotion, so I also work on what is outreach, which means we do stuff to reach a larger number of people, like I am doing here. But normally the people that already work in KDE are really, really engaged for their own reasons. So it is very gratifying for them to just develop and give, right? It is a community that is based on generosity. Some people have asked me, what is the business model? There's no business model because it's not a business, okay? It's a volunteer community. It is not, there is no relationship with, we do have sponsors, that are businesses, but they don't have any say on what we do. They give us money and say, okay, thanks, we'll do stuff with it. Our stuff with it.
Impressive. Philippe, tell us about Human Colossus. Can we really say that we citizens, a company, are using technology or software in a responsible way? Is really human-centric?
Well, that's the raison d'être. The reason the Human Colossus Foundation was created is I don't think citizens have the possibility to be responsible right now because they are not given the proper tool and understanding of the risk. So in terms of community and fundings, I think we can start our story with 3 years ago we finished NGI grants, which was about data portability. And it was one of these cascade grants, and there's a nice event, one-day event, and the whole one-day event was called The Web Beyond the Platforms. Our project was very different, actually. But this is basically what we started to do at Human Colossus is, okay, what will be the web after the platform, the limitation of the platforms? So to get actually to this topic of responsibility, you first have to get a few things done before. In the physical space, we know what responsibility here because we have laws and all these communities, rules, structures, but in the digital space, we don't have that. So this is why we started. We are a little bit the plumber of the area. We really work in
the dark.
In the dark, we are working on decentralized authentications because there is some problems on the internet, how to I know who you are talking to. This is a known problem, and we worked on that, but a lot of things was spoken about that this morning, so I will not go into that, but just wanted to mention for us, a blockchain is already a centralization point. So as part of another NGI grant, we worked on decentralizing that interoperability between various root of trust, whether blockchain, DNS, or other stuff like that. So the really cool stuff we did in the last 3 years was about decentralized semantic, and we didn't actually find a word in any dictionary. So but if you think of internet as being totally decentralized, and it was a total success in terms of the computing, which is totally distributed, it's even more than decentralized, if you follow Paul Barron's pictures. But the problem is you have all this distributed computing, but they still have to talk together. So standards become another centralization point. And when you want a distributed system, especially in healthcare, where everyone could be a patient, you can't really have people focusing on one specific standard. You can't even get hospitals agreeing between themselves. So it will be hopeless to go in that way. So we designed a way where how you can actually decentralize a schema. Sorry to be a bit technical, but this is something we work. Very simple application, one data model. You never know in which language it's going to be used. So this is the type of things we built. And the last things, once you have the decentralized authentication, you know who you're speaking to. Decentralized semantic, you know what you're speaking about. Well, there's a third point is you need to centralize again. That's the community. Yeah. And MeDDEa is a community. We all agree to have a guy coming in a few minutes saying, you should shut up. So this is the governance that every community needs to be. So we wanted to decentralize the centralization, which doesn't make sense in his work. That's why we call it distributed governance, because distributed governance, when you discuss with lawyers or people that are actually in the field of governance, this is something they know. We didn't have to explain the technology. Distributed governance is simply that this natural fact that we actually pass the governance to the legitimate issuer of the governance. Citizen is a part of country. I don't have to be a Spanish citizen to be part of MeDDEa. So there's all this mesh of governance that are always happening. So this is the distributed governance model which we applied. This on the left side, this is a picture of what we mean by an ecosystem that will follow these type of things. And first, this is actually not an ecosystem of Human Colossus. I picked it up in the Nature magazine because we are working in healthcare. But it pictures basically this idea of how, when you bring these three technologies together, you can define an ecosystem which match a little bit more what we do in the physical life. On the left-hand side, you see basically the sources of data, the modalities, all these typical sources of data. And on the right side, no, on the left side, sorry, you see the usage of the data. So when you speak about responsible usage, what we want is to have the right purpose to go from the right to the left. And when we say, I mean, we have this motto, data is like electricity. It has value when it flows. It's actually meaning a lot of things. First, data. Here we split, all our system is truly data-centric, and not data analyst, not data science. It's data for anyone. It has to be simple. This is data-centric compared to the service-centric infrastructure which we all live in right now. You send APIs, you send the data, but you don't really have control of this data. What we want to secure is the data independently of the location. And then by flow, currently the flow of data from one side to the other is unfortunately driven by economics. You follow the dollars. So we are totally against this idea that data is the new oil. It doesn't work. First, the oil in my cars is the same as the oil in your car. The data I have is surely not the same as the data you have. So you can't really compare these things. Watch sorry to go back to your high school physics, but electricity, flows only if you have a potential. And we want to replace basically the dollar potential with the purpose. The purpose should be the potential to create the flow. So what we are doing now after a few NGI grants is actually to build one of these things. In the case of the cardiology domain, where there is actually it's not as complex as this one, but because you are bringing AI tooling, you need to have the security of the data, you need to have the governance, you need to have all these things together. So this is our next step of evolution. It's a 4 years project, secured in that field.
Great. And there's only a few minutes left. I don't know if someone from the audience have any questions? No? Okay. I would like you both, this is a question for both of you, to tell me how do you see the future of the internet from your different points of view?
Well, yeah. I think the future of the internet is uncertain. I think that anybody who tries to predict the future of the internet is probably bullshitting.
It's okay, nobody's listening to you, just the ones in the streaming.
Yes, and all the people listen to streaming. Okay, I think that is my swear word of the day. Done. The future of the internet is uncertain. The future of the internet is uncertain because now we're in a really rough period at this moment. It has been co-opted by enormous corporations who do not have our interests at heart. It's been co-opted by oligarchs, and it's been co-opted by evil governments. And no, it's true. We all know this. This is, I mean, let's be honest. And but this doesn't have to be like this. I mean, one of your questions was about what would we tell the younger generations who are watching us. I would say, deinstall TikTok, right, and start fighting for your rights. The people that tell you that privacy is dead is, again, bullshitting. They basically have an interest in that you believe that, right? You can have your privacy and your cake. You can have both things. The only thing is that it's not a comfortable, it's not going to be a comfortable thing like, oh, I'm going to use what I already have installed on my phone, which is going to be TikTok and my WhatsApp and all this rubbish, okay? It's going to be stuff that you have to look for, right? Technologies you have to look for, but I can give them a clue. It's all going to be free software. Free as in freedom software, okay? It's not going to be anything proprietary, for sure. I don't know if, I'm sure that some of you in the audience are familiar with the concept of, and again, swear word, enshittification. This is a concept that Cory Doctorow created, which explains the process by which a proprietary platform starts off being very generous with their users, and then gradually gets more and more restrictive and more horrible towards all the users, right? As they...
1 minute.
Sorry.
I'm the Jorge today.
Yes. As the platform needs to ensure its survival in a very competitive capitalistic world, they have to stop looking at the interests of the users and engage investors. And so the interest of these platforms moves from the users to the investors. And the investors are normally greedy old men that, okay, that only want a return on their investment, a higher return and a higher return every year, right? So more and more rights. We see this process in really happening really fast with Twitter X, right? We're seeing this in high speed, but this has happened to every single platform, and it is inevitable. Okay, it has happened. It happened to MySpace back in the day. It's happened to Facebook. It's happened to YouTube. It's happened to every single platform. It gets worse and worse.
Right.
So forget the standard stuff. Okay, go for the free platforms. Your Mastodons, your PeerTubes, your Linux-based desktops, your free software apps. Go for those. You have to look for them. They're not going to be pre-installed on your machines. But that is the way you fight for the freedom of the internet.
Thank you. Anything to add, Phil?
Yes.
Very short. 1 minute.
1 minute.
Points of your minute.
So to be very short, I'll quote someone else. Actually, a very smart human said something. Everything is hard to predict, especially the future. Yes. So let's stay to the now, and I will quote another set of smart people. I was at the AI for Good, the ITU conference that was cited before, in the audience. And a few speakers said something very right about the future of internet. It was clearly uncertain, but clearly the future of internet is linked to the future of society on the planet. Absolutely. And this was very specific. It was about the Sustainable Development Goal. We are late on this one. So the whole question whether AI and digitalization will help us to catch up the delay or bring us to, no one wants to go there. So the end point is whatever the future is, we are now somehow at an inflection point where we can decide in which decision could go. We, but collectively, and that's the whole problem of AI governance and these type of things.
Thank you to both of you.